A very good evening to everybody watching. Thank you for making time and being with us tonight on the evening review. My name is Toivan Jabela, your host. Tonight we are graced with the presence of Ali Angula. She has put up her hand to stand in the 2024 presidential election as an independent candidate, and she's here tonight to lay down her plan. Thank you, Ali, for making time, really. I think that's a very bold decision, not in a negative way at all, but really to say that, you stood up and say, look, I want to participate. I have a vision for this country. At what point, as a career woman, a very revered career woman, did you realize I had to put up my hand?
Firstly, let me just thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
I think maybe the question is at who said I must put up my hand.
Yes.
I was, I guess, very comfortably going on with my life, in my career, advising businesses on how we can, do things better and we can make businesses strong. And about 3 years ago, and this might sound very, very odd, but about 3 years ago, I had a dream. And in that dream, I was being told that I must run for the presidency of the Republic of Namibia. So I guess it is the Lord that nudged me. The Bible says that He chooses His people.
Yeah.
And He has given me a very, very, very daunting, heavy task.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of people that are telling me, you're very brave. But I also say that I think we are all very brave.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where it comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had this dream, and then did you then put it to people within your circles and to sort of gather their thoughts and whether they will spur you on, or how did you handle that?
Yeah, I did. And it's been an interesting journey, because before I got to having that actual dream of running for the presidency and Him edging me on, He showed me the prospects of what Namibia is supposed to be. And that the fact that Namibia is meant to be a prosperous nation.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of other dreams where it would be a month, 2 months, and whatever He showed me would become true.
Yeah.
As a way of building up my confidence in Him eventually talking to me. So when the dream came, of course, anybody who was not planning to do something like this, you have your own fears. So I took it first to my parents and I said, I've had this dream. And I don't know where to start. I'm not a politician. Of course, He showed me exactly how Namibia is meant to be prosperous and the things that we are supposed to be doing. However, I don't know where to start. And what do you think of this? Now, my parents are both war-decorated heroes. My mom went into the struggle when she was very, very young. Same with my dad. So when I told them this, the first thing that came to their mind also was fear. To say you are going on a task or you are going on this journey and taking on a very, very heavy duty and a very heavy task.
Yeah.
So I then just said to them, the only thing I can do is pray to the Lord, and He must guide me in terms of what He wants me to do.
Yeah.
And that's how I've been taking it.
Okay.
Talking to family and getting their buy-in, getting them to give me wisdom in terms of what are some of the things I need to be looking out for. And it's been very, very interesting. Besides the fact that the journey is different, the overwhelming voice is, you've now started on this thing, don't go back.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would ask, especially my family members, outside of my mom and my dad, their first question is always, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Where is this coming from? We've got people that know from the Angula side, they know that you are related to the former prime minister, he's your uncle. They know on your mom's side, you've got a strong family name also on that side, being the Angulas. So are you being used by people to try and scupper what we've done, But once I tell them where it's coming from, everybody seems to settle and say, okay, well, if this is what you're doing and you're just being obedient, then we are more than happy to get behind you and support you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the Angula here is actually the same lineage as the former Prime Minister, so it's a good revelation there. Being a child of liberation heroes, naturally would assume that I would assume that you grew up in a SWAPO family, because they were fighting obviously on the SWAPO ticket.
Yeah.
Where do you sketch yourself now in the SWAPO family of members? Are you still a party member? Have you handed in your resignation and say, no, this is not working? And how do you, at what point do you decide then to say, look, this has been my party, but now I have to stand on my own?
Yeah. Very good question, and that's the question that everybody is asking. Firstly, that was the question that my parents asked, because the weekend when I made the announcement, which was on the 1st of May, they came down to show support. And I recall very well when they arrived, I said to my mom, okay, so tomorrow I have some people that are coming over to the house, and I just want you to share a little bit of my background, my history, some nuggets that you can give them that will help them in terms of us finalizing this announcement. And she was very clear. She said, I didn't go to an IPC meeting. I didn't go to an LPM meeting. I didn't go to an RDP meeting. Now you're asking me to come to your meeting. I'm not coming. So I said to my mom, but I'm not forming a political party, because I wasn't shown to come up and form a political party or go outside what is my political home. That seemed to kind of settle her, but it didn't answer the question really. So the next morning she started again. How are you thinking of doing this thing? So I said, well, I kind of get the sense that it's going to be very hard to convince any Namibian, even myself or even you as my parents, to move away from what you are comfortable with. What is your political home? There's obviously the legacy of how we ended up with SWAPO being the ruling party, and the fact that a lot of our parents sacrificed their youth, not just their youth, but their families. Even to this day, my little brother always, says to my mom, but you guys were not even there. We were growing up by ourselves. You were not even there. So it's not something that one can just easily rubbish and say, no. I'm a young person. I want to do this. I think I've got better solutions. And I think probably that's some of the mistakes that we make, is to throw out the old, or what we call the old, and move in with what we call the new, and think we're going to have a better outcome. So with that, the answer that I gave her, and it's the same answer I'm going to give you, is we will not, I don't think in this election, I don't think the next coming elections, that we will have anybody that goes out there and wants to contest and say we are going to take SWAPO out of being the one that gets the bulk of the votes, because that history is still very much there. People that were traumatized, and the fact that they did sacrifice their families and their childhood. So for me, it's to say, whichever home a person has as their political home, you stay there. You're comfortable to vote LPM, you vote LPM. You're comfortable to vote IPC, you vote IPC. You're comfortable to vote SWAPO, you vote SWAPO, because that's your political home. But I believe where we are at the crossroads as a country. We cannot have headlines literally every second day where we're talking about Namibians that are hungry. We cannot have people that are living in informal settlements. It's just unheard of. But of course, I reflect back and I say, okay, so we were in these refugee camps. They were kind of makeshift houses for a long time, 20 plus years, 23 years to be exact. So it's very hard to take that mindset and see a person who's in a shack for a year or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years and say, okay, I'm going to take this person out because I was there for 23 years. So the mindset that's going to say, okay, actually what we have done to people and keeping them in informal settlements, it's not the same mindset that lived in something similar for so many years. So I feel that because we are at the crossroads, we've got this immensely, immensely blessed country, so rich in so many things. We cannot have poor people.
Yeah.
So for me, we need to have a different driver for the vehicle. I don't think we've got challenges that you can solve by committees. I don't think we've got challenges that where we can experiment for another 5 years to get a person in who doesn't understand how the budget process works.
Yeah.
And where a person who wants to rather rely on other people to say this is kind of where we're gonna continue with the same and the status quo. I feel we need a different driver for the vehicle. So and that's what gives me comfort and gave my parents comfort to say, I really want to say I'm not going to run in a party. So, and I have been approached by SWAPO to say, how are you thinking of doing this?
Yeah.
Okay, firstly, is the video legitimate, the announcement video? Secondly, how are you thinking of doing this? Because the Constitution does not support independent candidates.
Yes.
So, of course, if the Constitution does not support independent candidates, where does that leave one?
Yeah.
So, for me, the stronger voice is the voice of the Lord saying, run.
Yeah.
And if the only vehicle and only structure that I can run is as an independent candidate, then I'm running as an independent candidate. And I guess the second part to that question is we've got a country with so many tribes. And if you look at our party structures, we can say whatever it is that we want to say, but a lot of them are formed along tribal lines. Now, I don't believe that there's anything wrong with that. If I just reflect on the nation of Israel, for instance, that nation was started with 12 tribes. And the Lord was very clear. So he would put a certain tribe, 3 or 4 tribes together, or 4 tribes. And then he would say, this tribe must not go with that tribe, because he knows this is the strength for this tribe. These are the things that this tribe will not get on with that tribe. But together, there is strength in those 12 tribes coming together. And if that is the way that we are organized, and again, human beings take a long time to change.
Yeah.
We're not going to convince somebody that, if you are comfortable here because this is where your tribe is, switch.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do that. But I think we also need to get to the point where we pull on the strengths for our different tribes. And if that is then the thinking that I have, the only way to get us to that point of unity is to have a government of national unity.
Yeah.
Where everybody's voice is heard. So now we run parliamentary elections. You have SWAPO getting 50-something% in parliamentary elections, or 60%. You've got LPM getting whatever they are getting, PDM getting their next percentage. But when you get to cabinet is 100% SWAPO.
Yeah.
Now, I feel to get us to a different point, you need every Namibian able mind to be able to get us there.
Yeah.
There is no point excluding people, because then you've got people, shouting to be heard. It's like in a kindergarten. If you put a child here by a chair and nobody's listening to them, what are they going to do? They're going to cause a riot.
Yeah.
And as human beings, we all want to be heard. So I feel if we have a cabinet that is predominantly or 100% made up of a particular party, we are actually disregarding the voice of the Namibian voter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really my answer to that question. So they have the party has reached out to say, how are you thinking of doing this? And for me, the answer is I'm running as an independent candidate.
Yeah.
And my formation of government is a government of national unity.
Wonderful.
That represents the voice of the Namibian voter.
Wonderful. We go for a very quick break and return with Ali Angula.
Stock up and save with the best deals at WB. Get 1 liter Vita Creamy for $11.99. 2 liter Nam Milk or Maere for $44.99. 200 gram top class spice mix for $11.99. 10 kg Hotchfeld maize for $84.99. Plus 2 kg surf washing powder for just $52.99. See more WB specials online at www.vurmanbrock.com. We care.
We continue with Ali Angula, the presidential candidate. Now, for those of my viewers who who don't have enough information about Ali Angula, what would you say is your sort of, in not so many words, your professional background in particular?
So professionally, I'm a chartered accountant, and I became partner at the then KPMG, which became Swart Grant Angula, now called SGA, at the age of 26. And I then went on to join Robert Grant to restarting KPMG in Namibia the year following. And around 2010, and I guess it's just the build up to getting to today, where I find myself now in my life. I had an encounter, and that encounter, firstly, it was kicked off by the fact that we said we've got 50% unemployment. Yeah. And I don't know what kind of clicked in my mind, but that time I was at KPMG. Yeah. And we had a team of about 60 people. And I then went to Zim with a couple of friends and ended up, I saw Zim where it was functional, they were manufacturing their own things, to then 2010 where, you're constantly being harassed, and if you don't pay a bribe and you're as loud as I am, and you want to challenge when a person says, I want to get a bribe, and you say no. I come from free democratic Namibia. Yeah. But some countries you don't do that. Yes. But in any event, I did that, and we ended up in a situation where we were hauled to a police station because I was loud. And at the end of that, at about 8 a.m. in the morning, this incident started about 3 a.m. in the morning. About 8 a.m., we are now driving home, and seemingly traumatized from the experience of having to think that I could have ended up in a jail cell because we challenged somebody that was looking for a bribe, and we didn't want to pay that bribe. Yeah. On my way back from there, I happened to have read a book by Dabisa Moyo talking about dead aid. At the end, she had this little few pages where she said, the only thing to get Africa from where we are, being reliant on aid, is to go into manufacturing. So I come back and I say to my partner then at KPMG, no, I'm going to get into manufacturing because, we've got 50% unemployed, 55% unemployment rate. And even if that statistic was wrong, and I've just had this experience, I've seen Zim go from a manufacturing powerhouse to nothing. And I quickly was pushed into that. So I left KPMG beginning of 2013. Okay. And since then, I've served on a lot of corporate boards, including being the youngest appointed board member for the Reserve Bank, our central bank, Bank of Namibia. I've served on financial services boards, on mining companies boards, really a lot. And I've been fortunate to serve on boards not only in Namibia. I serve on boards in Canada. I serve on boards on the continent in Kenya. And from all of that experience, I guess professionally I've got a very good understanding of how the economy works. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Ali, the past couple of years, and I think you've been pretty open about it on social media. I follow you on Twitter. There were issues of debt, owing the First Lady some money. I think she even took you to court or something to that effect. Yeah. Is this bid, this presidential bid, is it in any way influenced by that? Is it someone trying to lay their hands on some money and be able to handle their debts and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you asking a question that a very close cousin of mine asked about 4 weeks ago, and I hadn't seen her in a long time. So she said, "You're running, are you still running?" So I said, "Yeah, no, I'm running." And then she said, "But are you still not in the courts?" So I said, "Yeah, no, I'm still very much there." And then she said, "But isn't it a conflict of interest?" Yeah. And the one thing that gives me comfort is I think I am fighting a fight that many Namibian business people are fighting. I think the only thing that kind of sets me apart is I did become a public personality. So whatever you do, whether it's good or it's bad, it will surface and end up on the front pages of publications. Now, for me, certainly running for the presidency has got nothing to do with it. If anything, I would rather deal with it and not have to deal with the questions that come with running for the presidency, and still having to deal with the legal challenges that emanate largely, in fact 100%, from sureties that I signed for the businesses. And I can comfortably say that I wish that we had a justice system that gives access to justice to anybody, regardless of whether you've got money or you don't have money. Because the challenges that our business people are facing is many of them are unable to defend themselves. Because by the time the banks get hold of them and take them to court, they don't have money, because by that time, if a person is taking you to court, it's because you can't pay them. So what money do you then take to be able to challenge them in court and say, but hang on, court, please hear, this is my case, and this is why I'm putting a defense forward. What seems to be happening now is they seem to be coming to a natural end. There is one particular matter that I unfortunately at this point cannot really go into detail, because we are entering now the second part of the trial. I am anticipating a positive outcome based on the part of the trial that we just did beginning of August. And from that, I am anticipating that will be able to settle the bulk of those surety debts that I signed for on behalf of the businesses. One of the conversations that I had with the lawyer that's taking me through, and she really has been brilliant. If it wasn't for her, I would not even be in court, because affording those legal fees is not easy. But one of the things that I asked her and why she took on the case is, I said, before I went into business, I didn't have any consumer debt. I didn't owe anybody 1 red cent. I go into business trying to create jobs, and that was really my drive and my passion, was trying to create jobs, because I had an opportunity to go and see a garment factory in Sri Lanka, and there were 2,000 young people on the production floor. So I said, we challenged with jobs, but this is one industry where you don't have to explain the product to anybody, where we can employ a lot of people. So when I went through, starting this manufacturing businesses and the other auxiliary businesses alongside that, all of a sudden, you go looking for funding, and somebody says, no, we can give you the money, but please sign here. And one of the lessons that has come from that is, if you end up with the funder who doesn't understand their mandate, and that's really where the trouble started, then it's very difficult to navigate. So I said to her, I cannot, recognize this person who didn't have any debt. You enter a business and you come out of that business with the funder that you thought, has got a mandate for economic development for this country. And they would rather, if you challenge them, and this is the challenge that we have in Namibia, we've got a lot of entrepreneurial minds, but our institutions, they don't understand their mandate. If you say, let's structure the product this way, because that's my professional background, they think you're being too clever. And we don't like clever people. So now when people come to me and say, please, help us with this business plan, and we're looking for funding, I say to them, please act dumb. I'll finish the business plan for you. Go then, please be the dumbest that you can be. Then they will help you. So she took on the case because I basically was able to show her, this is who I am. I get into business, and this is who I'm being branded as. None of the issues that we have in court are personal. There's one case in particular that may seem like it's personal because it's got my name on it, but even that originates from a surety that I signed for a business that was owned by my ex-brother-in-law.
Okay.
So all of them are business related. All of them have got their own arguments and their own defenses. And I'll be happy once the cases are done to go into detail.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm actually thinking I want to do a legal masterclass for Namibian business people as to, firstly, when you're looking for funding, these are some of the things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
If you're signing a personal surety, limit it.
Yeah.
And if you can't limit it, then make sure that you're not signing it in the first place, and find some other form of security instead of getting yourself tied up into personal surety things that, and business is difficult in Namibia.
It is. I know.
I always say, when you're getting into business, you expect that you're going to be climbing a hill. In Namibia, it feels like you're scaling a wall. And especially for first or second generation black business people, we haven't built up the equity.
I understand.
So I can't, for instance, go and say I've got a house that has got 5 million worth of equity that I can use to raise my money from, or we can't go to our parents and say, please, give me your house to use as security. So you are the first generation that is having to stand and finance yourself.
I understand.
So that's really where those come from.
Yeah, our time is up. Our time is up. But Ali, thank you really for making time. I think you've actually placed yourself tonight in a different light. I think you've really shared some very important perspectives about yourself and the vision that you have. So we thank you very much, and we hope there'll be more conversations like this as elections come closer. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you.
Sure. That is Ali Angula. She is a presidential candidate for 2024, hoping obviously that EECN and others would should deal with those requirements. But that's her vision. Thank you for watching.